Hi guys, James from Twisted Assisted here. Today I'm going to be doing a short video on what to expect when you purchase one of our Sheffield traditional slip joints. I'm going to be going through some maintenance routines, essentially the first things you should do upon opening the box. So let's just make a bit of way here. You can see that the TA traditional slip joint is supplied in a pillow box. Let's just get in there, and we've got a nice felt bag for storage. Let's just open that up. Now you can see that is in some sealed polythene, and this hasn't been touched since it left the factory in Sheffield. And let's open it up, let's have a look at what we get, and I will give you some tips for you to start using your knife and getting the most from it. So now what I would recommend, the first thing that you do upon opening your slip joint from us, is you might find some black splodges just in some of the nooks and crannies. You can see here just along the back spring. Now that black gunk is polishing compound at the factory. This has come off the bench. Everything has been polished on a wheel, on a buffing wheel, and sometimes it will leave just little residual traces of the polishing compound. And the first thing to do is just to get a cocktail stick, look in the nail notch like there, and just give that a little clean out. You can appreciate that there is a production line, and in order for us to be able to supply these to you at $49.99, the guys in the workshop don't always have hours to spend on each knife, and there can be some of this residual polishing rouge which works its way into some of the nooks and crannies. Let's just get that out. Cocktail stick is really useful just for getting up in there. Let's just open that up. The second thing that I like to do upon opening a Sheffield slip joint is just to use some knife oil and just to lubricate the slip joint. And what you want to do is you just want to get yourself a cloth or a bit of kitchen roll like this, put it around the blade, and then you can hold it like that, and then you can just work the slip joint. You can see that this is all very thirsty, all that oil has just sunk in, and what you're doing is you are just working the two mating faces of the slip joint, and you're just beginning to wear it in at this point. You can use a cotton bud for getting in there, for just soaking up all of the oil, which will get a bit dirty. Can you see what's coming out? You're just cleaning off all of these residual, getting rid of all that dirty oil, and you're just starting. You'll notice that the Arthur Wright Sheffield slip joints, they are famous for their strong back spring, okay, and that can come as a bit of a shock to somebody that's never owned one before. But I can promise you that after wearing in and bedding in the joints, it's just going to get easier and easier once the mating faces have just worn in. And the best way for you to get your knife to a good usability and to ease the back spring is just to simply use it. That is the best thing for you to do. can you see? Cleaning all of this off, working the joint. Now the reason why I'm holding the blade in a cloth or a bit of kitchen roll is A, so I don't cut myself, but also I'm not going to put a load of salty fingerprints all over. The blade on these Sheffield slip joints is carbon steel. These are authentic carbon steel. Obviously was the OG steel used traditionally in these knives, and the TA traditional slip joint honours that by not going for a stainless variant, but it does require you just to look after it and to make sure fingerprints and things like that, if you leave a fingerprint on there and you've got sweaty hands, then you will just cause the blade to oxidize. A little bit later on in this video, I'm going to give you some tips as to how to protect your knife long term. One thing that I find is very useful for general knife maintenance is pipe cleaners. I've got one here. I'm just going to fold it in half like that. And then with this, I'm just going to open it up. And I'm going to slip that into the groove, run it up to there. Can you see? That is just polishing compound, oil. Just going to clean all of that out of there. The pipe cleaner is an ideal shape to get in there and get it clean. Okay, this is starting to come up quite nicely. And you can see this is cleaning up really, really well, and it's well on its way to bedding in. Let's put this back around the blade. Chuck a bit more oil on there. I'm using twisted assisted knife oil, which is food safe. It's ideal. It's a nice thin oil, very penetrating. I'll chuck a link in the description in case you want to treat yourself to a bottle of it. That's starting to bed in. Now you can see here, this has got a nickel silver bolster on the knife here, and over time with use that will patina and it will get a little bit dull. I'm going to show you what to do if you want to keep that nice and shiny. Obviously this is just fresh out of the factory at this time, but if you want to keep it nice and gleaming, one of the best things you can use is metal polish. You can, if you've got a tin of brass at home, you can use that. Or what we're going to use today is the twisted assisted knife balm. And let us, less is more. I'm just going to get a little daub, that's loads, get a little daub on there, and I'm just going to liven up the blade a little bit, just work some of that in. It's a really effective metal polish, works on all metals. This will work on brass, on steel. And you can see here, just a little bit of this on there will literally bring the bolsters back to life and to give you that good mirror polish. There we go. So we're just, if I show you, you can see that is going to be coming up nice and shiny. Now I'm going to use a polishing cloth to actually take off and get my cocktail stick just to go into the nail notch and take out all of the polish, metal polish that's stuck in there. This is a good thing to do on, say, a monthly basis, is just have a little set aside 10 minutes just to perform these maintenance rituals with your knife, and you'll get the most from it. It'll look good. You can give it a sharpen. So you can see how lovely and shiny that is. Now, what can you do to protect the carbon steel while you're using it? Well, I find the best product for that is Renaissance wax. Renaissance wax is a protective wax polish that was developed by the British Museum to protect their suits of armour and all of the other metal objects at the museum. And quite simply, it just does not have an equal. It will work on metal, all metals, leather, wood. Now, you don't need very much of this at all. We're just going to work a little bit into the blade, and it just sort of, as long as you don't use too much, it will just disappear. And what that does is that's putting on a micro layer onto the blade that will just put a barrier up, stops the metal oxidizing. One of the best protections is for your knife blade to gently patina, and you just get a very fine layer of mildly oxidized steel. It will kind of almost end up looking after itself. But when you first acquire the knife, that is when you're most likely to potentially use it to peel an apple and then forget about it and put it back in your pocket, and you come and look at it in a couple of days' time and it's just covered with rust. It's when you first got the knife that it's most vulnerable. Okay, so there we have it. Now, you're not rubbing off the Renaissance wax here. You just see that shine that you're left with, and there's a micro layer there just protecting your knife. The more you use the knife, the quicker it will bed in. These knives are handmade, and each one is different. Each one has its own quirks and personality. You can't expect them all to be the same. And so it's such a great price, £50 for one of these. And that is well on the way to bedding in. Let's just pop a little bit more oil in there. Just keep it nicely lubricated. And if you've got a leather slip or something to keep it in, that's always a good idea. I hope you have found this of some use. What to expect when you first open your twisted assisted Sheffield knife. Get yourself some cleaning products for it. Like I say, we recommend Renaissance wax, twisted assisted knife oil, and the twisted assisted knife balm. Okay, thank you very much for watching.